Hey, welcome in. We're here on episode 28 of the Road to Black podcast. I'm here with my partner in crime, Wes, and our guest today, Josh Guerra from Refuge Brazilian Jiu Jitsu in Phoenix. What's up, Josh? Wes, how you guys doing?
Doing well, man. How are you guys?
Doing good. We we took a week off here from the podcast. We had a few personal emergencies on Wes's side. Um, he can talk about that a little bit, but basically, yeah, he almost got flooded out of his house and studio. So,
What?
yeah, we took a week off. We're coming back strong with Josh here. We were gonna do it last week, but Josh, we just had a lot going on. We're here now. The one thing I wanted to ask you, Josh, you just came off of a nice tournament in Texas,
Yeah, in Houston.
correct?
Uh-huh.
Houston, the Houston Open.
Correct.
Tell
Yeah.
us how that went for you. I know you competed both days in the gi and no gi.
Yeah, man, it was great. It's been a while since I competed. The last time I competed was in November of 2020 here at the Jiu Jitsu World League. And before that, I was competing so often. So now to have such a big break in between tournaments, I think is definitely like those butterflies in your stomach get so much stronger. And the nerves
Right,
itself, like I think for me, the biggest thing now at black belt is like, am I doing enough to compete with the best guys in the world? Like, am I doing enough to fight the big names? Am I doing enough to win black belt titles? Like for me, I've always been somebody who like tries to like doubt myself. Like I don't know why. Like, am I doing enough? Am I working hard enough? Am I training enough? This and that. Which I'm sure everybody kind of struggles with. Um, I'm fortunate enough to have both you guys know Bo Triple A, so
hmm
he speaks with me a lot. And I was in Houston, and he just he called me up and like right before my match, and he was just like, "Man, I believe you can beat anybody in the world. You have to believe it too. I know how hard you train. I know how bad you want it. Get in there and go do what you're best at." And it like my mind just like cleared, and so I was able to go in. I had two fights. My first fight was against the the number 10 ultra heavyweight in the world, and I was able to submit him in like 20 seconds. So that was huge for me. That was super exciting. I felt like I was ready to go to the finals. And then in the finals, I won again. I kind of hit my signature single leg X. I was able to kind of work what I wanted, and finally, I elevated him enough to get the space I needed, and I finished a footlock while he was still standing. So I didn't even have to
Oh,
knock him all the
nice.
way down. Yeah, so that was awesome.
That feels great.
And yeah, it was a great feeling to just kind of feel like, man, like all that hard work has paid off. All that hard work is like it's for something. I'm doing something right, and I just need to keep telling myself that. You know.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
so that was great. And then, I personally don't train a lot of no gi, but I wanted to get out there and challenge myself in the no gi too. So on Sunday, I competed against the same guy that I beat in the finals of my gi division. Um, and it was just like I tried to play my leg lock game to get inside, and he just did a really good job of keeping distance and blitzing me from far. So that was that was kind of it from there. I couldn't make anything happen. I think I ended up losing like, gosh, like 10-0, something like that. Like he'd get a guard pass and I escape, and then we just create a scramble. So it was frustrating because I wish I could have done more, but I was happy that, it's not my game, but I went out there and I did something I was uncomfortable with. And I didn't feel like I had a horrible performance, but definitely gives me a lot to keep working on for sure. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, man, that's single leg X. To go back, I know we've got a couple of listeners that I train with here in Colorado, and I'm talking no more than 10 days ago, 2 weeks ago, I was showing that single leg X where you kick the leg
Uh
out
huh.
and then wait for them to step back in
Yeah.
and then bump sweep them.
I love it. I love it, man.
It's classic, man. It is like it's like a major part of my game. And
Good. That's awesome.
so I mean, I'm still showing it and I'm still hitting it, and it's like, so that's just to let you know, man, you've been a huge influence on my game. I know you've been influential on both of our games, and so it's wild. Like I had a conversation recently with somebody else who they just randomly got in touch with me, and I was showing something that I had learned from them recently, and it's just fitting that here we are today having this conversation, and within 2 weeks ago I was showing this single leg X, kicking the leg out to the sweep. So it's cool.
My finals match too is on the IBJJF website, so you guys can, or I'm sorry, on the IBJJF like YouTube, so you can see, like, I mean, it's pretty close up, so you can kind of see how I set everything up, and I mean, you guys know sometimes you have to be patient, right? Like, you get in that position and you just kind of, you're waiting for the right moment, or you're waiting for the guy to step a certain way so that you can get that leg to the hip, and like, you want him to do part of the work for you, and then once you drop him to that hip, it's awesome where you're just kind of like, I know there comes a point where you're just like, I know I got it. You know what I mean? All I got to do is drop him to his hip, and so it's a great feeling for sure, and awesome to have an attack that you're kind of like, okay, I know if I can get my arm around this guy's ankle, I'm going to finish it. It's a really good feeling.
Yeah, it's nasty. I'm always showing that same move.
Yeah. I know we spent a lot of time after class talking about that.
Yeah. The inside foot on the single leg X, you always mostly put it on the on the hip. You bring it out and put it up on the top, right?
Yes.
For the most part, yeah. I kind of do it the more traditional way, but I always, when I teach that or show people, I'm always showing them Josh's style as well, because in certain circumstances, that one works better. So I think you can go back and I think you go back and forth from those different ones, but that same sweep that Wes is talking about, that's money. Like, I love that one. I always use that as well. So.
It's great, man. Yeah. I'm happy you guys have been having success with it,
Oh, for sure. I mean, to step back, Josh came up training at the same gym, Gustavo Dantes, with us. We trained together for a couple of years in the early morning class. I learned a lot of leg. That's when Josh was really developing your ankle lock game. As a late purple belt into your brown belt. I was a blue belt, and I was just getting ankle locked all the time by you. So I was like, I got to go toe to toe with this guy. I got to learn what he's learning and try to just hang in there. And, you did a seminar for it. And honestly, it really set up kind of my passion for ankle locks as well. So I always took everything from you and just built upon that. So Josh trained with us at GD Jiu Jitsu. To step back a little bit, Josh is a black belt under Gustavo Dantes. He opened his gym, Refuge Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, here in the Valley in Phoenix 3 years ago. How many years, Josh?
Yeah.
What's the number?
April 7th was our 3-year anniversary. Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. Wow. Congratulations, man. Yeah. I know you're seeing a lot of success. People are we have people that come and cross train over at our gym from your gym, and they have nothing but great things to say about the vibe over there. And I just know you as an instructor are top notch. So here we are, man. Josh is a married father, husband, business owner, black belt, competitor on the biggest stages, hustler, straight up. So that's why we wanted to get you on here, man. And that's it, man. We our show's about people on the road to black. So we all have one, whether you're a black belt or not yet. We've all been there. So one of the things Wes and I wanted to kind of talk about is kind of your start in jiu-jitsu. We definitely want to talk about coaching as well, but as an athlete and as a younger athlete, I know you started as a teenager.
Yeah.
In jiu-jitsu. And so tell me a little bit about that and what your journey was, and when did you really fall in love with jiu-jitsu, and was it an immediate thing, or was it something that, you had the ups and downs and growing pains like many of us do?
Yeah, man. Actually, I think I was probably 10 years old. Um, I was an overweight kid, and I was bullied in school because of my weight. Like just not like anything physically, but just verbally, I was picked on a lot for my weight. And I was just looking for something to lose weight. I wanted to do something, and one of my uncles one time was I was at his house and he had the UFC fights on. I'm sure this is like how so many people's stories start. You know what I mean? They watch a UFC
Yeah.
fight, and that was kind of me. I saw a UFC fight, and I'll never forget. It was like GSP. George St. Pierre was fighting Matt Hughes, I think it was, and he was just like demolishing him, like from the wrestling to the ground and pound to he finally finished him with like an armbar. And I just thought it was like the coolest thing in the world. I'm like, what is he doing? I want to do that. I want to fight MMA. Like that was my thing. I want to be an MMA fighter. And so, at 10 years old, I just like started looking online, like MMA gyms around my area. Um, and I found a gym that was literally like right around the corner from me. Um, it was a karate school that had a jiu-jitsu program, but the jiu-jitsu instructor was kind of like teaching MMA. Um, I found out later it wasn't really like a MMA program. They called it MMA because the jiu-jitsu instructor also knew judo, and because he incorporated both of them, he considered that MMA since we were doing mixed martial arts of both judo and jiu-jitsu. But I'm like this
Right.
10-year-old kid that wants to come in and is like ready to start banging. You know what I'm saying? Um, but overall, I went into the gym day one. Um, and I remember like I had seen a bunch of UFC fights at this point now, um, and I remember we start rolling, and the instructor grabs me first round, because I was in a situation where like I've always been a big guy, so I was too big for the kids class, but too small for the adult class. So I was like, well, just throw me in with the adults. You know what I mean? Like I was by far the smallest guy in the class. I mean, at 10 years old with a bunch of grown men. Um, but I remember right away, like all the guys started like just beating the piss out of me. Like no one had mercy on me. I'm sure at the time it's such a small gym. You know what I mean? Like that everyone was just kind of like, I don't care how old he is. This is fresh meat. Like we're gonna take this kid out. And it was like day one. They beat me up so bad, but I was like completely in love with it. I remember like by the end of that week, I had told I remember telling my parents like, this is what I'm gonna do for the rest of my life. Like I'm gonna I'm gonna open up a gym, or I'm gonna open up a school, and I want to make a living doing jujitsu. Like that's my goal. And I remember my parents were like, "Oh, okay, we'll see." But I kind of had a lot of switching around. Like I said, the gym where I started at was a karate gym with a jiu-jitsu program. My instructor at the time ended up taking the program and starting his own gym somewhere else. And so I followed him, and then after I followed him, the gym just kind of started to like go downhill. He kind of lost his passion. Um, I was now, by the time he left to open his gym, this is like 5 years later. So I started at 10. 5 years later or so, he wanted to leave, open up his own thing. I'm 15. Um, he had promoted me to blue belt. Once I got my blue belt, I was like teaching classes for him. He was almost never on the mat. And I was like, man, like I want to compete. I want to train. Like I knew what I wanted from like, I jumped into a tournament within my first month of training, like I was like so
Wow.
gung ho. I wanted to do everything. I wanted to, you know, get as much experience as I could. And I was a guy that it's like, if I could compete every weekend, I'd compete every weekend. You know what I mean? Um,
Hmm.
So then, yeah, I followed my coach. It started to kind of go downhill. Um, and I ended up, when my coach had left the karate gym ended up calling Gustavo Dantas, my instructor now, and they became affiliated with him. And Gustavo put a brown belt at the karate gym to basically run an affiliate program. Um, and that instructor is Joe Daly. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with Joe.
Yeah, I know Joe.
He's a black belt now under
Hmm.
Gustavo. But so Joe was a brown belt, like newly promoted brown belt, and I had found out that the karate gym had now become a Novo Niao Jiu Jitsu affiliate. And at this time, I mean, this is still early on. Like, I think at the time, anytime someone heard Jiu Jitsu, it was like, oh man, like that's like, in my opinion, like the best team for competition in Arizona, if not the biggest team at the time. You know what I mean? So
Hmm.
I was like, going to Tempe was way too far because I live in like the North Phoenix area. So and I couldn't drive. You know, my parents were still driving me to training. You know, so they were like, okay, well, the karate gym has a high quality program now. So I basically went back, and that's how I kind of started back with Gustavo and Novo Niao. Um, and then I stayed at the affiliate gym for a while. Probably at age 16, I took over the kids program completely. I started teaching, like at first 2 to 3 days a week. Um, and then, gosh, and then I kind of moved up to 5 days a week, 6 days a week, as the program continued to grow. Um, so man, yeah, I've been I've been
Wow.
teaching since I was 16, and I'm 25 now. You know what I mean? So over 10
Wow.
years I've been
That's
teaching now.
crazy.
Um, but it wasn't until, gosh, it wasn't until I got my purple belt, probably like end of 2015, early 2016, um, that I made the decision to leave the affiliate gym um, as someone who trained there. I continued to teach the kids program, but I decided to go train at Gustavo's now, like full time exclusively. Just I wasn't having the success I wanted at tournaments. I think I was just in a place where I was one of the youngest competitors there, and I wanted so much. And you kind of outgrow the team at some point, you know what I mean? And so there was no hard
Yeah.
feelings, you know. Um, I'm really good friends with the owner of the gym, so I was like, I'll still continue to teach the kids program. I'm just going to do my training at, GD Jiu Jitsu headquarters. Um, and then it kind of it kind of started from there, and I started training full time. And over the years, I've trained in different classes based on the jobs that I've had. For a long time, I was in the early birds because
Hmm.
my job schedule wouldn't let me train at nights, and then I'd get a different job, and then I would go and train at nights instead. So it all kind of depended. But now, um, I think probably early on in my brown belt, um, I just got to a point where I was like, man, I was really unhappy at my job. Um, my wife was pregnant, and her company was, like relocating, and so if she didn't want to relocate, then she was going to be let go. And so we were like, you know what? Why don't we take this leap of faith and let's open up a gym? You don't like your job. I'm going to be let go. We're pregnant. Like, let's do it. Why not? And so I quit my job, and we basically started looking for a place to open up a gym. And we found a spot up here in Phoenix. And yeah, man, we were able to open our doors April 7th of 2018. I mean, I started like completely green. I mean, I had nobody. Um, I've had those classes where you have one person in class, two people in class, and um, as I'm sure you guys know, it's that same struggle of, you're kind of like, oh man, like, it's what more could I do? Is it more social media? Is it more, I was going around businesses with with business cards, with flyers, and putting them in like car windshields, and like
Mm-hmm.
wherever I could to try and advertise. And it's you kind of get to that point where you're just kind of like, man, like it's scary, it's stressful, especially because at the same time, not only did we just open up a gym, but I still wanted to compete as regularly as I was before we opened the gym, and it's still possible, but I definitely think there's more balance now, because before I could train with all my high level teammates all the time, and now I'm teaching every single class at my academy, so there isn't a lot of free time to go around and train with all my teammates, especially when right now I'm probably a good 45-50 minutes from GD headquarters. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
So I've been making that drive for, man, since I was 16, 17 years old. Like as soon as I could drive,
Yeah.
I started making that drive one way, 50 minutes down to Gustavo's to train for an hour and a half and then come back home. Like I've always kind of been the type to do, like, you know, I'll do whatever's necessary to win. If I know that this is the one of the best teams in the world, I believe in Gustavo's team, then I'll drive an hour to go train with what I consider to be the best team, to get the best training for myself, and
Nice.
so yeah.
So many years of teaching experience, training, driving, commitment, back and forth. I know you spent a lot of time coming over during those few years when you were a brown belt for sure. Now it's just almost impossible, I'm sure, to get over to the school. But I know you got a bunch of killers in your gym, and you built that up so much that you're surrounded by probably a lot of great training partners, I suspect, at this point.
Yeah, I've been very fortunate enough, you know o- over the last couple of years. Like, I mean, I push my students really hard, um, just because it's the way that I came up, in the training at Gustavo's. We were fortunate enough to have so many high level guys come in as well to kind of teach us how to train for competition, and how to train hard. So for me,
Hmm.
like, I instill that in my students, and you know so now I'm fortunate, like, I consider my guys to be very good, and that's also something, like, for me as a competitor, since I'm not going to many other places to get outside training. Like, I won the Houston Open at the black belt level with really only training with my students. You know what I
Right.
mean? So um yeah, I've had people come over from other gyms, you know what I mean, whether it be a brown belt or a purple belt, um but I have one of my teammates from Gustavo, Ryan Sims, who's also a black belt under Gustavo. When I opened, he lived super close to the gym, and so he was coming down right away to kind of help me teach classes and stuff. And he's always been, like, honestly, one of my main training partners here at the gym. So we teach together. We're always on the mat together. We're always training together. We're always, like, brainstorming stuff together. Like, we could be before class, after class, like, we'll pull our phones out and just start, like, watching techniques and be like, let's try this, let's do this. We should teach this. We should teach that. So yeah, it's great that now we're building up a great room of killers, and I'm actually really excited. There's a tournament coming up here, the Jiu Jitsu World League, here May 15th, and I'm actually bringing my biggest team to date. I have just over 50 students.
That's
Um,
amazing.
so for
That's
I
incredible.
still consider us kind of like a small gym, you know what I mean? Like, we're only 3 years old, but for
Not
50
anymore.
plus students, like, I think that's pretty awesome, So
Yeah.
it's I'm
That's a
super
lot, dude.
I'm super excited. And so now my focus before was like, okay, I'm prepping the guys for the tournament, but I'm also prepping myself for the tournament, so it works out well. And now
Hmm.
I can kind of take my foot off the gas on myself and more focus on my students now, to kind of be like, all right, guys, now for like, I'm all in, let's go. It's all for you guys, you know, like,
Hmm.
so I kind of step back from rolling as much now so that I can focus more on watching or rolling with specific students to see what holes in their games need to be adjusted before we head to the tournament, you know. But it's
That's
good.
a lot to prepare for.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, that's
So
50 other personalities and success. You're responsible for their success. So,
yeah,
what's uh,
yeah.
what's your approach on navigating the tournament itself, and how are you going to coach? I'm sure it's a team effort. You're going to have some helpers, but that's
Yeah,
a
yeah.
lot of people
So
competing on a single day, or it's 2 day, 1 or 2 day event.
it's 2 days. So luckily that actually is going to be so good because they split the adults and the kids on 2 days. So the adults will go on a Saturday and then all the kids will go on a Sunday.
Okay.
Um, so I have a lot more kid students than I do adults. Like I think it's probably like 30 something kid students and then the rest are adult students.
Hmm.
So for the adults, it won't be too bad, but like I have myself, my other instructor here, Ryan Sims, and then I have a couple other like purple and brown belts, you know, that can kind of come in. I have another black belt here too. Like I kind of ask around and see like, hey guys, like if you're able to come down, you
Right.
know, like let's be there and support your teammates. Like if you have nothing going on, come over, cheer them on. Um, you know, I might ask some people specifically, like, you know, hey, if you're training with someone a lot, like, and you see that myself or another coach can't come over, like, you know, you train with that person all the time. Shout out some, even if you don't know what to tell them, like, what would you do if you were in that spot? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, give them some encouraging words, tell them what the
Encouragement.
time is. You know, yeah,
Hmm.
encourage them, help them warm up, or you know, make sure they have their water, something. You know, like it
Yeah.
means a lot to competitors when they know somebody's there for them. Like you
Totally.
don't just feel like you're by yourself.
Big
You know,
time. It helps tremendously.
we
So.
also my my wife is like a mastermind behind it, but she makes like a big Excel sheet, and
Hmm.
so she like maps out what competitor is going to be on what mat at what time and how many fights they're supposed to have if they make it all the way to the finals.
Oh
So
wow.
yeah, she makes the tournaments real easy for me when she prints that out, and it's all, you know, color coded from kids to adults and juveniles. Like, you know, she's big on Excel. So
It sounds like some I know who does all the behind the scenes success, refuge BJJ
yeah,
with the
yeah.
numbers and the
I need to
analytics.
give, if I could have a second to give her all the credit for that, because that's not me. Like
Yeah.
I think I get a lot of the like, oh, Coach Josh this and Coach Josh that, because I'm always on the mat and I'm always at the gym. But like, in all honesty, I couldn't do this without her. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like
The team
she,
effort.
it's a team effort for sure. Like she's the reason I'm able to do this, and she's always supported me. Like even even in opening the gym, like I wasn't ready. I honestly was like, I doubted myself, and she was the one that pushed me and encouraged me to follow my dream and open up the academy. And yeah, she does all the behind the scenes from like, you know, oh, we need to, you know, there's a new rash guard design, there's a new gi design, we need to do this, we need to, you know, we need to pay this, we need to do that, like all this stuff that you don't, you know, a jiu-jitsu athlete doesn't know going into opening a business, you know, like she didn't know either,
Hmm.
but she's just on another level when it comes to that stuff, that she can just figure it out. And me,
Yeah.
I'm just like, you know, I still type on a computer like this, dude. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I'm, I'm not very tech savvy. So
Yeah. Well, it takes two. It takes both sides, right, to make
yeah,
it
yeah, for
successful.
sure.
So nice.
I'm kind of curious. You mentioned that you didn't feel like you were ready. Can you had the opportunity to take the leap of faith? I mean, what was the defining thing that was like, I don't feel like I'm ready, but we gotta go. We gotta do this right now.
Um, I think a couple things, like I was still, I was still a little early on in my brown belt. You know, I thought maybe I still had so much more to grow, which I did, but it's that like negative self talk where I'm kind of like, are people going to want to come to a gym where it's not a black belt, it's a brown belt? You know what I mean? Like for most people who don't know jiu-jitsu, like most people don't know any other belts besides white and black. You know what I mean? Like white is like your neutral, like that's where everyone starts. And oh, black belt, you must be good. Like people who don't know jiu-jitsu don't know that like a brown belt is probably just as good as any black belt. You know what I mean? Like it all depends. But I think it was that self-doubt of like, am I a good enough brown belt to open up my own gym? Um, am I going to be able to continue, progressing myself now that I won't be able to train with all my teammates while I'm trying to open a business? And now I'll basically lose my teammates because now I'll be starting from scratch. I'll be trying to raise up my own white belts now.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's also the financial scare, like, okay, my wife's losing her job, but she could find something else. I could find something else, like that lack of security and knowing that you're kind of like, wow, like what if the business doesn't work out? Like what if we try it and we fail? What if people don't come in? What if it's just too expensive? I don't know. Like I've always been someone that just kind of like, it's hard for me to see the end result. I'm always just like, what if,
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I think finally it was something my wife and I prayed about a lot, and it just something we had a peace about, we just trusted that, all right, like we'll put everything into it. And if it fails, we know that we did everything we could and we tried every single thing to make it the best that we could. And at least we know that we did it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm more than happy than we did. You know what I'm saying? Like now that I'm here,
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, I could have never imagined this. But like, again, it's just always at first, I always kind of have that self-doubt at first. Like, what if it doesn't go well, you know?
Yeah, the reason why I asked that question, I've talked on previous episodes, I'm pretty open with, I'm also an individual where self-doubt creeps in. I call it an inner critic where it's like, why do you think that you are so good to do this? Why do you can't do this? You don't have whatever is going on inside a person's head. You don't have the experience, you don't have the black belt, you don't have
Yep.
whatever it is, though there's a financial stuff, there's all these things that creep into your head. And it's, I guess the reason why I'm asking that question is especially because we're all three here business owners. Opening my business for me was personally super scary because I was cutting ties with my job.
Yeah.
I was working at a hospital. Honestly, it was super easy. It was great income. I got paid really well, and I was cutting ties with that job. And it's like, man, I don't even have that much experience at the time working with athletes. At the time, I didn't work with any athletes. I was working with post-surgical patients, and it was like, well, why do you think you can do this? Why do you think you can do that? And it scared me to death to think that I'm going to open my business. I'm going to cut ties with financial security. I'm going to go out completely on a limb and do this. And so I'm always interested to hear what somebody who has taken that leap. You didn't feel like you had the experience. I personally was training with you at the time, and I felt like you had that experience. You had plenty of skills to pass on to people. But I guess for me, it's comforting to know that I'm not alone in some of those mental battles, right?
Yeah, of course.
And it's something that, I know that we do have a listener that's going to listen to this podcast that's potentially thinking about opening a gym. And, he's probably going through some of these same inner battles as well. And I'm always interested to hear what somebody goes through to say, okay, I'm going to take action.
Yeah.
I'm going to do this.
I'd say the biggest thing I could say, like, or a big piece of advice I think is like, it definitely is scary and it can be stressful for sure. I mean, you guys know with any business, right? But I mean, we struggled with that point of like, we're not seeing enough new students, and like you see a couple people and then like they drop off. You know what I mean? Like it's like new people, it's so easy to have them like come in for a couple weeks or a couple months and then they drop off, or somebody gets hurt. Somebody gets hurt and now they're done. Now they can't train. They stop their memberships. Um, but I mean, honestly, the big thing that I hear the most from my students or from the families of the kids is like how passionate myself and my instructors are when we're teaching. Like I've always been big on that. Like if the instructor doesn't love what he's doing or doesn't show it on the mat, like people can see that, like the energy. Like if my energy when I come onto the mat, like I might have, problems at home, or the stress of the business, or financial stress, or stress with kids, whatever it might be. If you bring that on the mats with you, and now I'm supposed to, teach class, and my energy is low, my attitude is poor, like people see that, like at the end of the day, these people are paying customers, whether they're your close friends or whether they're brand new students, like they're paying customers. And so to me, my goal was like, no matter what was going on in my life, when I step on the mat or when I step foot in the gym, like I want people to see how much I love what I'm doing and how fortunate I feel to be doing something that I love every single day. And for
Yeah.
the last 3 years, I make sure when I show up, like I don't like I don't have to try. Like I genuinely love what I do. Am I tired? For sure, man. My body's tired. Like I teach all the
Hmm.
time, I train all the time, but I love it. I don't have to get up every day and be like, gosh, I have to go sit at
Right.
a desk and I have to do this. Like for sure, no matter what you do, there's always a couple things you have to do here. But like I love what I do, and if people see that, they'll want to tell other people about it. Like
100%.
this gym is great because like the way that they treat people, the way that they talk to people, the way they
Hmm.
encourage my kids, the way that they motivated me, the way they helped me lose weight, the way they helped me build confidence. Like jujitsu's had a huge impact on me. And so I've always wanted to kind of give back and you know, be a light in the community, be able to give back to people, be able to kind of help people build relationships with other people, build friendships and lasting bonds. Like I don't have like I don't have a lot of friends from like school growing up. Like all my friends do jujitsu because now I'm at the point where I'm like, if we're not talking about jujitsu, I don't know what else we're talking about. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's that's the way it is. But that would,
That's
if you have someone who wants to open a gym, man, like that would be my biggest thing. Like if people see that, like you love what you're doing and you have the passion behind it, like they'll keep coming back. I
yeah.
believe that.
Yeah. We talk about that. We talk about that in several different ways on this podcast, including, about someone trying to find a good vibe, a good gym to vibe at. And that's,
Hmm.
to me, that's like one of the most important things in your journey is to find a place where you feel comfortable with. You're getting all that positivity that you personally just rattled off, all of that
Yeah.
energy. It's all about the energy because people are in different circumstances. There's people that train and they kind of dread going to training because the head coach might not be like you, might not
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
energized and motivating. And it might be the absolute opposite where this person's down in the dumps and they're just going through the motions. So that 100% applies to jiu-jitsu. Obviously, I try to
Yeah.
do the
Yeah.
same. Try to do the same thing when I'm helping people out in the gym or coaching. It's like people appreciate that feedback and that energy. Sometimes you have to manufacture it. Sometimes I'm sure where you might feel a little dull today, but like you
Yeah.
said, these people are paying customers. That's how business is. That's how, especially small business,
Yeah.
that's how
Yeah.
my businesses are. That's the way you have to approach the day. I'm super proud of both you guys because I actually got to witness both of you guys and discuss with both of you during the times when you were really developing your businesses. So I had a business for a couple of years and, we would talk shop a little bit and talk about how we're going to, how you guys are going to do this. And man, it's amazing to see both of you guys knowing two of my friends have really just taken that leap of faith because I've been there as well. And I've taken that leap of faith and really just poured everything into it, poured your whole heart into it. But now to see you guys being successful, and I know the conversations, like I've talked to both of you guys about that same thing back then. It's like, I don't know if I can, I don't know if, I remember you saying, Josh, I don't know, I'm only a brown belt, that whole thing. And it's like, now knowing that you literally were teaching for 7, 8, 9 years at that time, it's just a little bit of self-doubt. And really you're just, you're just putting that out there that people are going to feel that way about you, when it's really not true at all. Like, you know what I mean? It's how you treat them when they come through the door is what sold them, not the black belt. That might have gotten them there, but right away you see your skills shine through, and it's just been cool to see you guys kind of get over those like mental hurdles and really open things up. And it's scary at first, but both of you guys now are on this path where you're doing what you want to do. You're both two of the busiest guys I know. So, as small business owners, we don't get a lot of vacations, there's not a lot of long-term breaks, no long-term breaks. Even if you go on a vacation, you're still checked in, you're dialed in, your business is probably running over there without you to some extent. You got to keep things rolling. You're always worried about customers coming and going, clients. So it's a lot to manage, but I mean, I can hear both of you guys talk. Obviously, I talk to Wes all the time about this, but the passion comes through, And like you said, I worked for 20 years in the job where you had to get up and go and sit in an office, and you had to get up and go. I used to work on power poles and do hard labor and stuff that you did not want to go do, and worked in a warehouse for 7 years, driving forklifts, all that stuff. You do what you can. And all those years I just worked for the paycheck and tried to provide for my family. But it wasn't until you start doing your own thing as a creative person, or as just somebody that wants to delve deep into their passion. That's where that true that's what it's all about. Like, and you guys know that. I mean, you both have worked other jobs where you just didn't want to go to the job, and it's like, this is completely opposite, when you're going to, and you're excited to go after many, many, many times doing the same thing over and over again. But it's like, it means a lot to not dread what you're doing every day. I mean, a lot of people live in that situation, and jiu-jitsu is their escape, where they're working all day, or they have to go to work, but maybe they're getting their training in before. So, to have the three of us be involved in jiu-jitsu in our businesses, needless to say, it's been positive for all of us. So it's good stuff.
What got you into footlocks, Josh?
Oh man. I think it was, what's funny is I actually hated single leg X to begin with. Like, one of my coaches as a blue belt, when I was training at the affiliate gym, he used to try and get me to play single leg X all the time. He was like, man, this is like the next big thing. Like, you need to be playing this right now. And at blue belt, I just wanted to berimbolo everybody. I just wanted to Hiva, berimbolo everybody. I was like, this is the game. I want to be like the meows, like just berimbolo, take the back. And he was like, no, I'm telling you, like, you need to play single leg X. Single leg X is the new thing. And I remember I tried it in a tournament one time, and the guy passed my guard and submitted me. And I was like, you see, this is why I don't do this, because you told me. And so I stayed away from it from a long time. And, Paul's right. Like, it was probably close to like end of my purple, early brown that I started playing with single leg X. Like, until then, like, I hated like I stayed away from it. All I did was play De La Hiva, and I used to watch Orlando Montero used to play that like single leg X. He does his foot lock a little bit differently, but he used to ankle lock me a lot, or foot lock me a lot, and so I was like, man, this position's really strong. So like little by little, I started playing around with just setting up ankle locks, and I was like, oh dang, people are tapping really fast. Like, if I could get better at this, I think this could become my game. It just like, it clicked for me right away. And so then I just started spending a lot of time on like, okay, as I move higher up in rank, right, it's not going to be as easy to just grab somebody's ankle and sit back to finish it, right? So
Yeah.
I need to find more ways to kind of be sneaky about setting up single leg X and getting the guy to fall to his hip. Like that was my thing. If I can get the guy to fall to his hip, I believe I can stretch out his ankle, and it's all leverage. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
know so many people do that ankle lock a little bit different grips. You know, some people like to grab their own hand. Some people like to
Yep.
grab same side lapel, cross side lapel,
Hmm.
higher, lower, so many
Yep.
different things, man. You know, I know what works for me. Um, you know, and so like it took me time. I started playing around with it, and yeah, eventually I just kind of found like, all right, this is it. And even now, sometimes I play around with different variations. Um, you know, I have some new stuff I've been playing around with, so it's a lot of fun, and I get to show that when I teach seminars and stuff. Um,
Nice.
but but uh, but yeah, I mean, I'd say it's actually pretty funny because yeah, I never thought it'd be something I do. I thought I was going to be someone who played De La Hiva to Berimbolo all the time because my coach always used to tell me like whatever game you play from like blue to purple is like going to be the game that you play for the rest of your career. You know, like you don't really change too much. You just kind of get better at what you already do. And I was like, well, I guess this is me. Like, this is going to be my game. Like, I don't, you know what I mean? Like, I'll learn other stuff, but this is my thing. And now, like I can't tell you the last time I went upside down on somebody. You know what I mean? Like,
You would
especially
be a
now,
standout. You would be a
like,
standout as a ultra heavyweight gorilla that does
so yeah,
berimbolo every tournament.
when you're 240 pounds, man, you don't, exactly curl up in a ball underneath someone very
No,
easily. You know what I mean? So
no.
single leg X is a little bit easier for my body to play with. So
Yeah. Especially the ankle lock attack, man. I mean, it's one of those attacks too. If you don't have the precise timing on the defense
yeah,
and you're not
Yeah.
immediate on the defense in the reaction, it's almost too late. And to have a guy like you with your strength and build and grip, in
yeah,
muscle, to be honest, not that you're muscling anything, it's all
no,
technique,
but
but
for sure,
when
yeah,
a guy like you gets a hold of your ankle, you're going to have fast taps. You're going to have some
yeah,
people freaking it the fuck out. They
yeah,
do, right? I mean,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
you've seen it, so
yeah,
it
yeah.
doesn't
It's
take much because it's that fine line of you better be quick to tap or you're going to get your ankle wrecked, especially in
yeah,
a
yeah.
tournament when you're not, there's no holds bar, you're just going for it. So
Well, yeah, man. My first match in Houston, the guy's foot actually broke.
yeah,
He again, I mean, I never. I want to finish the match, but I'm not trying to physically hurt the
yeah,
guy.
yeah,
You know what
yeah,
I'm
for
saying? Like
sure,
we have. I know he's got to go back and teach.
yeah,
Teach jujitsu too, do his thing. But um, he actually, when I went for the ankle lock, he turned inside. And so, you know, from
yeah,
single leg X, you can't turn in, but if he turns in, you can go belly down that way and follow him. Now it's not illegal. So
yeah.
I went belly down with him, and man, like I could feel his ankle. Like it felt like Velcro. It was like I was just unstitching, like boom, 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 like 4 or 5 times. And when
Oh,
he tapped, he looked up at the referee, and in Portuguese I could hear him, he says, it's broken, and I was like, yeah, well, I would think so, man. Like that didn't sound good. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Um, but he
Well,
was just
someone,
like, I didn't want to tap. And I was like, well, I'm sorry, dude. I wasn't going to let go either. You know what I mean?
yeah. I mean, you got
So
to do. That's exactly what I'm saying. You got to know you're gonna.
yeah,
I mean, when you're belly down on that ankle lock, what are you gonna do? The guy's not
yeah,
get. Yeah, the guy's not gonna get out of that. I mean,
it's,
you better save your ankle, in my opinion.
yeah. Even like,
But
I did the open class for the nogi, and
mhm,
in the nogi, I fought I think he's a middleweight, and we were going back and forth on exchanges, and we got to 50-50, and like heel hooks are legal now for black belt nogi, and
mhm,
so yeah, we got in like a weird position, and like as soon as he went back and I saw him lock up his grip, I was like, tap, dude, you
yep,
got me.
yep,
Like,
yep.
because I know it's tight, and I'm not going to try and destroy every
No,
ligament in my knee trying to roll out of it when I know you have it tight and I can feel you already pulling, like, you got it. And he was cool. He didn't like wrench it as soon as he got it. He locked it up and kind of looked at me. He pulled a little bit, and I was like, you got it, man. It's all good. There's no need to be stubborn here. Like, I want to walk out of here. You know what I mean? Like, I need to teach classes the next day.
Yeah, exactly. And you can imagine if you blow out your knee, it's going to change your life tremendously in the next 6 months in a very negative way, you know, to not be able to teach and get on the mats for, I mean, that's a huge concern as a coach and a business owner, any business owner. Wes and I have talked about that too, just getting injured and not being able to do our jobs or not.
Yeah, for sure. Like, who's going to run it? You know what
exactly.
I mean? Like, you need to be hands-on.
Yeah.
Right?
When I hurt my knee last summer, I couldn't walk for a day, but the second day I still couldn't. I could barely walk, but I guess what? I had to go in and work all day.
Yeah,
because there's nobody else. So
you make
here I am hobbling around. It would have been nice to take a couple weeks off, but no. You know, it's like it, and that is a mental. You know, before the podcast, I told Wes, I have this knot in my back for the last few weeks. I hurt myself here doing work at the house. Took a couple weeks off. Trained last week. Rolled, and by Friday I did no-gi and I aggravated it again. And it's not like a huge thing, but the mental part of that, you guys know, is such a pain in the ass to have to deal with something and not be able to not be 100%, not be able to train or just doing stuff around the house when it's something nagging, or if you have especially if you have like a knee injury or something, it wears on you mentally. Like it's a mental grind to get over injuries. And I'm sure Wes has a ton of experience with his athletes like this. I mean, that's probably a huge part of it is, but you know, the funny thing is about the Houston Open, someone had posted in our Facebook, we have a Facebook group for our early morning training classes. And, I think it was Bruce posted up. He's still in our Facebook.
Oh my gosh.
Posted a podium pic of you. And he said,
that's awesome.
He said, Josh, you know, the guy's ankle broke in the final. And that's all he said. Cause we all know there's going to be ankle locks. And Manny chimed in and he said, well, it doesn't look like the third place guy did very well either. Both guys were like leaning over and both were like not putting weight on one of their legs. I was like,
that's great, dude.
he got both of them that day. So the podium pic's kind of funny. Just very subtly, you can see the two. No disrespect to the other competitors. We're not making fun of them, but both of them are a little light on one foot that day. So, and I know why, because I've been there.
It was a good day. It was a good day for sure.
Yeah, it was a good day. That's great, man. I can't wait to see how your team does. This is a huge tournament coming up here. What day is that? Mid-May? For Jiu Jitsu World League in Phoenix?
Yeah, May 15th and 16th.
May 15th?
Yeah, so it's over 2 days, yeah.
Nice.
You got any seminars coming up?
No, not right now. I think we're kind of still waiting for maybe more stuff to open up, but I haven't had any requests, I guess, but the gym, my academy right now has been so busy, which again, a great problem to have, not a complaint, but definitely it's been so busy that I haven't really had a lot of time to think about to go and do a seminar or even like I was just talking to my wife and she was like, man, like it'd be really nice to take a vacation, I'm like, when? You know what I mean? Like there is no there is no like off season for jiu-jitsu, like
no.
Especially now with stuff opening back up, like there's more tournaments all the time. Like there's a tournament like every month now, you know, whether it's here or Vegas, or now Jiu Jitsu World League is doing one end of May in California.
Yeah, I saw they're back in California.
So I have people, my students want to compete, and so everyone's like getting ready. We're trying to figure out. We're still in negotiations to expand, to try and get the spot next door to me, so that we basically just like knock the wall down and add in more space. So yeah, again, great problem to have, but it's just been so busy that like now I spent some time getting ready for the tournament, kind of focusing on myself a little bit. So now it's kind of time to refocus and settle back on the business while also still finding those boundaries, right? Of like, okay, I want to spend time with my wife and kids, like
Mm-hmm.
I have a three I have a 3-year-old daughter. And my boys, one of them is 5 and one of them is 4, so they're really young, and they want to go outside and play. They want to go to the park. They want to do this and that. You know what I mean? Like I
Mm-hmm.
I, I want to be able to do stuff with
It's
them.
a
And so,
lot.
when I left for Houston,
Yeah.
like that's a weekend that I'm not with my kids. I'm not with my family. It's a weekend I'm not at my gym
Mm-hmm.
that someone else is covering for me. So yeah, I mean, you guys know how it is, right? Work can always kind of interfere with all that, and it's always hard to kind of tell yourself like, no, stop. I need to kind of
Yeah.
shut this off because now my time is, like me and my wife, like we try not to even talk about like, jujitsu related stuff or sometimes even business stuff at home, because it's like let's leave that for like Monday through Friday, and
Yeah. Yeah. You have
Saturday,
to.
Sunday, let's talk about us. Let's talk about the family. What do we want to do? Ideas,
Mm-hmm.
home improvements. But like, I don't really want to talk about, gym stuff on the weekends, and
Yeah.
it just kind of
You have
leave
to
it.
create that space for yourself, so
Yeah,
you won't be
yeah,
successful because you're going to burn out. Because you said it, this type of man, I envy gym owners. I've said this before in this podcast because it's one of the busiest jobs. Like like you said, like there's no time off. There's always something going on.
yeah, yeah.
When are you even going to pick a week to do anything on as a vacation? Because everyone else isn't taking that week off, So it's like, what effect do I have on my clients? I'm in the same boat. It's very hard to find time to take off, but
Yeah, yeah.
you have to create that, like you're doing, as much separation as you can, even if it's a couple hours at night or it's a Saturday, Sunday. I know Wes tries to break away on weekends to do just that, but it's a lot to juggle, especially expanding the business. That's going to be a whole nother small challenge and work
Yeah, yeah.
and stressors. And what I wanted to ask you about, I think you kind of answered that just because you're so busy. But personally, what bigger tournaments are you doing? Because I know you personally don't want to just. You're also a competitor. You're an active competitor.
Yeah, yeah.
You're a guy that wants to get out there and challenge himself and prove himself. What's your competition approach for this next year in terms of, are you just going to do the bigger tournaments? I know I could see, especially if you're not wanting to travel, if Fight to Win ever comes back to Arizona. I don't know why they're not back here yet. I know
Well, they
you
actually just announced, yeah, they'll be back in July.
okay, perfect. Because I
Two
know
two
you
weekends
love
in a row.
competing on that one. Really? Nice.
Yeah, so he's gonna be here. I think it's like the 24th and the 31st, something like it's literally the last 2 weekends in July. He's gonna be here, and I was
Okay,
like,
perfect.
I,
There
I
you
literally
go.
just saw it. I think I just saw it today, and I was like,
Nice.
man, Seth, let's go, man. You know what I
Okay.
mean? Like, um, so yeah, I mean, I think that'd be great. I'd love to. I'm in a spot right now, man, where I'd love to kind of do some more super fights.
Yeah.
I think for me, the super fights are a great way to get more exposure for my business as well.
Hmm.
Um, and just a good opportunity to kind of, maybe fight some big names. I think like
Yeah.
for sure it's scary, but um, like I've always been a big believer, right? That it's like if you want to be the best, you got to beat the best guys. And I'm still a young black belt, but you know, I think I train really hard, and I think I have what it takes to go toe to toe with some of the best guys.
Yeah.
And so I'd love to prove myself, whether it's whether I win or lose, but just to go out and know, like, okay, man, like I can be here, I belong here,
Yeah. 100%.
and Fight to Win is a great venue for that. So
I mean,
locally,
I was
go
just
ahead.
going to say about Fight to Win. You guys have seen these super fights. Do you ever look at anyone up there really and say, "Oh, that guy doesn't belong here"? It's like,
No,
you
no, I
know,
mean they put
you
on
know what I
guys
mean,
that
though.
they want to put on fights. Yeah,
Yeah, but also just getting out there and competing. Like you
yeah,
said, it's a scary thing on a bigger stage, but But the fact that you're doing that, anyone that gets out there and does that, it's such a personal challenge and something it's only going to make you grow from that, obviously.
For sure.
You were saying, what about locally?
Locally is really tough. It's tough for me to compete like the Jiu Jitsu World League I did here last November. Like I had little over 30 students competing, and that was just one day. So
Wow.
I was there from like 7 a.m. and I was coaching all day long on my feet, just running around the venue. Like they had like two separate mats. So like they had like mats 1 through 12 over here, and then like mats 13 through 24 all the way over here. So I'm like running to each section, trying to like coach this person over here, and then I'm running to the other side, and then I come back literally all day long until I competed at like 6:30 at night. So I'd been there since 7 a.m. and then I had to compete at 6:30. So while I'm coaching all day, I still have those nerves of like, okay, if I fight at 6:30, I'm probably going to stop coaching around 6 because I need to warm up. I need to get in my zone. You know what I mean? And so it's definitely stressful trying to be a coach all day and also compete at the same time. And so now when I have so many students, like I'd rather take a step back and just focus on coaching. And that's why Fight to Win is I think a better environment for me locally, because it's something where I'm not going to have a bunch of students there, and even if I do, like I can, it's easier to manage, I think, than an all day competition.
For sure. I don't even know how you guys do that. Honestly, I know a few guys that own schools and run around all day and then try to compete. Man, that's so much, because it's just, you got so much going on all day long and mentally, and then you're going to have to try to like erase all that, and you're already tired, and try to focus on your own match. So it's probably a great approach for you, especially at this time, do the external, the bigger tournaments where you're not going to have a lot of students there. You might travel to Worlds or Pan or something where it's 100% focus on yourself,
I'd love to compete more at BJJF, like I want overall, like, I want my business to be successful. I want people to know my gym as one of the best gyms in Arizona, as far as quality and as far as just like the level of training that we offer here, but I also want myself as a competitor, like I'd love to look at the IBJJF ranking and be like, oh man, like I'm one of the top 10 guys in the world, or I'm one of the top 5 guys in the world at ultra heavy or whatever it might be, like there's something that goes back to me kind of like being that bullied kid, that wants to like prove everybody wrong, and just kind of be like, look what I've done. Look who I've become. I'm one of the best in the world at what I do, what I mean? So that's always been a huge goal of mine. But then now again, like as a business owner, kind of transferring that energy too is kind of like, well, at the same time, like I want my business to be in that same spot, so it's a
lot to do both,
for sure.
It's a big challenge. I'm going to throw you a curveball here, because I've been thinking about this question, and you're a gym owner, you're a coach. I personally, as we all do, know a lot of blue belts. Okay. So gyms have a lot of white, blue belts. In my circles, especially, I coach a lot of blue belts. So I'm not in the position to promote anybody, but one of the things I want to talk about in terms with coaches on when we have guests on is, and it doesn't have to be super specific, but what do you look for when you go to promote somebody to a purple belt, let's say? Because it's always, I think for me, that's a big transition. I think Wes and I have talked about that. Like that's one of the biggest transitions.
It's a monumental belt.
For sure. Yeah.
Everyone has their own standards on what it takes to become a purple belt, and all that grind you do as a blue belt. You learn so much, it seems, as a blue belt. I don't know why that is, but that's why a lot of people drop out of the blue belt, because it's There's a lot. There's a lot. So what are you looking for? And it doesn't have to be that specific belt. I'm curious about that one. But in terms of advancement, are you somebody that, and you don't have to comment on this if you don't feel comfortable talking about this,
No,
but
no.
is it a mix of technique, of character? What is your approach? Is it growth, development, the big picture? Is it individual specific? How do you approach promotions and encouraging people to advance into the next stages of their journey?
Yeah, I think it kind of differs a little bit from person to person. Um, and especially with kids and adults for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I'll stick with adults in general. I would say, man, like one of my things is like one, I roll with all my students, whether it's a brand new white belt or it's my most advanced guy. So that for me is one of the best ways to feel what that guy's got, or girl. Like,
Mm-hmm.
um, how are they moving? What holes need to be fixed here or there. But like I look at, how are they performing the technique? Are they a focus driller where you're kind of like, okay, they're hitting it pretty clean, and then I go and watch them roll, and their rolls are looking real good, and they're applying those techniques? Or are they somebody who can drill the technique fine, but they can't hit the technique in training to save their life?
Mm-hmm.
Which also happens. Everybody learns at a different pace. Um,
Right.
my biggest thing is I always tell people like consistency. Consistency is the key. Like if you're if you're someone that only trains twice a week, like yeah, it's probably going to take you a while to progress. Like
Yeah.
it's not your promotion or your advancement is probably not going to come as fast as a guy that's here 4 or 5 days a week. And the thing that gets me personally is when I have somebody that says, you know, like, oh, I want to get my blue belt, or I want to get my purple belt. I want to do this. And I'm like, well, dude, you train once a week, you train
Yeah.
twice a week. Like, are you able to come in those other days? Oh yeah. I just kind of want to have some, and I'm like, well, that's fine. If you've set those boundaries for yourself, like you have other commitments or whatever it might be. But if you're able to come in more, like, and it really means something to you to try and see that progression, like, I really think you'll see a difference coming in more to train, having more time to practice the technique, but also apply it in your training. Enroll with different people because, like, a lot of the same people do come, like, to the same classes, but like I might have different people come on Monday and Tuesday, and then some different guys come in on Wednesday, and then different
Mm-hmm.
people on Thursday. Like, so you roll with different body types or different games and stuff like that. Um, and like the best thing for me is when I can see it almost immediately when someone takes their training from like 1 to 2 days to 3 to 5 days. Like, it's almost immediate the progression you see, and I'm like,
Yeah.
it's it's clear, like, there's no science to it, there's no
No.
secret. It's like you just got to put in the work,
Yeah.
like, um and again, I know that like everybody learns differently, right? So like
Mm-hmm.
I might be able to see a technique one time, an ankle lock one time and get it, and maybe Wes has to take it a couple times and practice it over and over and over before he can apply it in an actual live roll. Like, everybody, I'm more like I can see it and do it, and other people sometimes are more like, they're more hands on. They need more repetition. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
could drill something once and then I got it in my head, and I can do it from then on.
Yeah. Yep.
Um, but I know not everybody learns like that, and I have some guys that like body types too. You know what I mean? Maybe they can't do certain things or
Mm-hmm.
like certain positions. But my big thing is I'm like, okay, are you putting in the effort? How consistent are you with your training? Um, and then I guess another big thing I look for, which I'm not sure if this is something other people look for, but like for me, it's important, and like learning how to be a good training partner, learning how to be someone who can actually flow. So like as a business owner, like, and or head instructor, like there's some students that, like I feel like I could be like, hey Paul, hey Wes, can you go roll with my brand new white belt? Or hey, can you roll with this female over here? you know, and you guys could do it no problem, you know, but if it's a white belt or sometimes even a blue belt, they go over and they're like destroying the brand new guy, or they're like beating up, you know, a female who weighs 100 pounds less than them, you know, even if that female has a higher rank than them. I'm kind of like, I'm not saying you have to be a noodle, but like, why do you have to, you know, like, you're so much bigger and stronger. Like at this point, we're not even using technique. You're just beating them, you know, like what's the point of that? And so something I look for in my students as far as progression too is like, okay, are you somebody that I can trust as being like, okay, you know how to take care of your partners. I can put you with a new person. That spazziness is gone. You know what I mean? Like, it's hard to teach that. It's almost just something you kind of have to, like, you talk about it and you instill it. And that's why, like, when I roll with my students, like, I do that. Like, I'll roll with them and like either like beating them up in like a super slow and methodical way, or I just kind of flow with them. I let them move and I'm moving and we're doing this thing. And they're like, wow, that was a lot of fun. And I was like, yeah. And look, we're both sweating. We both got a good workout out of it, but we're not injured. We're not hurt, and we're not completely out of breath. Like, you can still train without trying to overly exert yourself and feel like you're going to die at the end of the round. Like, so that's also a big thing I look for, especially like from blue to purple. Like, honestly, like, I'm not sure if I would promote someone from give someone their purple belt if I didn't feel that they were someone who could take care of their partners. You know, like, I feel like
that's great.
By purple belt, you should be able to kind of be that person that, like, as a head instructor, it's a great feeling to know you have a guy or people that you can be like, hey, yeah, will you roll with this new person over here? And I know that they'll take care of them. I don't have to constantly be like looking over my shoulder to see if the new guy has his arm cranked behind his head by my 4-stripe blue belt. You know what I'm saying? So like, what are you trying to prove, man? So
well, really, that's what you're doing, is checking their ego a little bit. You know, it's like, is your ego checked enough where you can flow and you're understanding, like, this isn't just a flat out grind game, you know? I think we could all benefit from a lot more flowing rolls, because you get into those rooms where everyone's just grinding and bashing and beating and, you know, and pressure and grips and strength, and, you know, and it's like, sometimes if you just, a couple times I've told the class, it's like, let's just take this back a little bit and, you know, take it back to 70% or something, you know, like, slow it down. Like, we should all do a little bit more flow rolling, because that's what happens is you find yourself being more technical. And it becomes a little more fun because you're both moving around a little bit more. You know, I've seen the same two people sit in a stalemate, you know, in half guard or whatever. Nothing happens for 5 minutes except a couple different threats. And those same two people, if you slow them down and tell them focus on flowing, it becomes a completely different technical role. So
I think people,
I love how you're applying that into the like reviewing of a student.
I think it's like you say, it's the ego, right? Like, especially at the lower ranks, like, you don't want your instructor to think that, like, oh wow, this lower belt is beating me or this or that. And I tell I'll give announcements and I'll be like, guys, like, I'm never going to look over, like, I know how good you are and I know what you know and what you don't know. Like, I know if that person's really beating you up or if you're letting them. Like, that's how often I train with certain students. Like, I know what's really happening. I'm not going to be like, oh my gosh, this person who's usually dominating everybody got their guard passed by some, you know, some white belt half his size. No way is he ever going to get promoted. Like, my gosh, like, no, man. Like, I'm like, guys, you don't have to. I'm sure you guys know what it's like when you're training and the head instructor comes by and all of a sudden your training partner just like starts trying to kill each other to see who's going to get promoted that day or who's ready for a stripe. Like, I'm like, guys, like, I'm not going to do it like that. Like, I want you guys to take care of each other. Like, there's a difference between training hard and hurting your partners, you know, like, we can still train hard, take care of your partners. And then there's a time and a place where you're kind of like, hey, let's just flow. Let's just move around. Cause I think a lot of people think they know how to flow, but like, flowing, I think, is almost just as hard as learning, you know, an advanced technique. Like, it's a skill. Because you're intentionally giving up positions.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so that then you can move. Like, it's an exchange of movements, but if
Yeah.
you're not comfortable with it, like, in a sense, like, for part of that round or whatever, like, you're losing. You're giving up position. You're giving up
Hmm.
submissions. You're giving up this or that. And so you have to get used to doing stuff like that. You have to get used to, in training, like, I let my students pass my guard, and I have to be okay with them. Maybe when they're done, like, they really think they passed my guard, and I'm
Yeah.
like, man, that was awesome. You did great. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
keep working hard. You see, like, if you really keep the pressure on me, like, you can do it. Like, there's no
Hmm.
need for me to stand up and just totally
No.
demolish them and be like, do you really think you'd ever pass my guard? Are you kidding me? Like, like, no, man. Or I put
Yeah.
myself in bad positions, like, to see if I can get out. Like,
Yeah.
I want my students to understand too that, like, sure, I'm good, but, like, I'm not unbeatable. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I want you guys to chase me. Like, I tell my students, like, if they never get anywhere close to beating me, I'm not sure I've done my job as an instructor.
Yeah.
You know what I
Exactly.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
I want them to chase me. I want them to come after me. Um, like, for sure, take care of me. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
at the same time, like, if we're gonna train hard, like, come at me and don't be afraid of the rank. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I've seen I've seen blue belts tap black belts. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, it can happen.
Hmm.
Like,
Hmm.
you gotta go for it, and you have to be willing to try new stuff and be willing to
Yeah.
expose yourself. And the big thing is trying, right? Um, so yeah,
But
I
for
would
you
say,
especially as an instructor, we've talked about this on the podcast too. I firmly believe there's times when both people in the role should have some type of positive aspect of the role. Like, it doesn't do your white belt any good to just get smashed over and over and over and over by that purple belt. I think as an instructor, you'd probably appreciate if that purple belt might play a little more loose, might let that person work, especially in a small training group. If the white belt doesn't have a lot of people to go beat up themselves, and
exactly.
Josh is sitting here just, obviously you're not going to do that as an instructor. You know that you have to be loose, let them pass your guard, or at least get into some positions. You're not going to destroy the person every time. How are they going to learn?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I think that applies well across, especially when you get into the higher belts. That's what that's what you do, right? I mean, I don't.
yeah, yeah,
A new person that comes in, it's not fun for me just to sit there and, I mean, maybe for some people, but to tap the guy 5, 10 times in a 5 minute round, it's like,
yeah, yeah,
what is that? Like, that's not a challenge for me. It's better, and it builds the community more. And I'm talking in terms of just even a student. If you, and we've talked about this before, Wes and I, if everybody has that mindset, the whole room's going to grow. The whole room's going to get better because you
yeah,
are
yeah,
going back and forth. And in terms of that flow state, it's hard, but if you slow things down, I think ultimately, wouldn't you want to slow it down to where you get into a nice flow pattern and you're much more technical, and then increase the intensity? That's where
yeah,
I want to
yeah,
be, is to be able to increase the intensity during those and still be able to be technical and flow. That's what the best guys do. It looks like
yeah,
they're
yeah,
flowing. It looks like but they're giving both 100%, but it just becomes technical. But you can't
yes,
always get there if you're always like this.
yeah, yeah. You
You
gotta
have to at least slow
you
it
have to
down
loosen
and
up.
to
Yeah, slow
develop
it
those
down.
skills to be more technical and quite honestly, those are some of the funnest roles, and maybe I'm not saying you have to slow it to where it's completely flowed, but just taking your foot off the pedal a little bit and giving a
Yeah,
little bit to your partner.
I actually just had this conversation with two of my students recently. I'm not sure if they'll watch the podcast, but if they do, I'm sure they'll know who it is. But um, they're bigger guys.
Yeah.
Very, like, they're very muscular. One of them is super tall and muscular. The other one's about the same height as me, probably 6 foot, 6'1". Um, you know, just very strong, very very aggressive. And so the one's a blue belt, one's a purple belt. And so, like, being the bigger guys in class, they can get in a habit a lot of times, like, yeah, use your strengths, right? So if you're good at pressure passing, for sure you're going to pressure pass a lot. But like, there's a time and a place. Like, if you're training with the other guy, like other upper belts that are maybe a little bit smaller than you, or higher belts, for sure I get it. You're playing your A game. But I'm like, with smaller white belts as a blue belt or a purple belt, like, why are you resorting to like flat half pressure, like just squeezing them as hard as you can? Like, at this point, there's no technique there. Like, you're literally just
Right.
holding them. And then as they get more tired, they start to use more strength. And the round turns much more into like, I'm just going to squeeze you into submission rather than like actual smooth jujitsu. And so
Right.
what I said to them was like, listen, I don't want you guys to be the people that no one wants to train with. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you want to be people that people look forward to training with because you're good. Like, they know they can get a lot from rolling with you. You're fun rounds, So what I would suggest you guys doing is like, sure, when you train with me, go 100%. Go, give me everything you got. You don't have to, you play your A game. Totally fine. But when you're training with some of the other, maybe other blue belts or white belts that are smaller than you guys, like much smaller, like, there's no need to play that type of game. Play something else. Play bottom. Play your bottom game. Play
Yeah.
bottom half. Play close guard. I don't, you know what I mean? Like, we're working on sit up guard right now. Play sit up guard, like,
Yeah.
and then when you get on top, try more passing from your feet. You know what I mean? Like, more side to side Toriando passing rather than just pressure passing with an over under or a double unders. Like, I know you guys can do that. Let me see you play a little bit looser and kind of have more fun flowing around, or maybe just play stuff that you're not as comfortable with, like,
Yeah.
if there's a guard that you're not comfortable with at all, put yourself in that position. And
Perfect time to do it.
yeah, why not? And so we had that conversation, and gosh, man, it's been, I mean, I say recently, I mean, it's probably been like 3-4 weeks, but like, since I've seen it, I feel like they've grown so much out of it. And now they're rolling with more people because I think more people want to train with them because they realize they're not just going to get stuck underneath a truck for
Right.
6-7 minutes. You know what I mean? And I know at first they were kind of like, I tried to do what you said, and I played bottom, and that white belt passed my guard, and I saw the look on his face. So I had to stand back, and I was like, "You can't, like, who cares? Who cares if he thinks he passed on? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you have to be okay with that, man. Like,
Yeah. And if
it's
he
gonna
did
happen.
pass or he almost passed, then that's something you need to work on. And that's
Then
all the more
exactly,
reason
right?
why
Like,
you should be in that position.
exactly, yeah. If he almost passed your half guard, then maybe you should work on your half guard. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Like, so yeah, I'm happy that it's like, guys, like, like, there's a time and a place, but like, you'll get so much more out of flowing. And I'm
Yeah.
already seeing them, like, just the way that they move, like, the way that they're connecting, like a side mount drill with windshield wipers to guard passing, like, stuff is connecting instead of just like stop, point A, point B, point C. Like, it all flows through,
Yeah.
when you're able to kind of be looser and just kind of like, you have fun. I feel like too much in training, we get in this place of like, I got to win my round all the time, like,
Yeah.
again, time and a place, but like, that's how you get burnt out. If I trained 100% every single day, 2-3 times a day, 7 days a week, like, I wouldn't be having fun anymore. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you got to have fun. You got to have fun, man.
It's great advice, man.
Yep. I like it.
On that note, Josh, thanks, buddy.
Yeah, thanks for
coming
having
on.
me, guys.
Yeah, thank you so much, man, and thank you for all the, you've helped me tremendously in my jiu-jitsu, and I'm passing that stuff on, those lessons that you've taught me, and so thank you very much for that investment, and I really appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Same here, man. Been a big influence on my jiu-jitsu as well, so we were both stoked to have you on, and let's do it again sometime in the future. See how that new gym, the expansion's coming along down the road.
Yeah.
All right. Guys, Josh is at Refuge, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Tell them where you're at, Josh. Plug your academy. Tell them where you're at. Where are you at?
Oh, sorry. You like froze, dude.
Did I?
Yeah,
I said,
I was
tell everybody where you're at. Where are you located at Refuge?
We're in the North Phoenix area. We're right off of I-17 and Carefree Highway. you can't miss me. I'm right next to a big Mountainside Fitness, so you can come do some jiu-jitsu, go work out at Mountainside, or vice versa.
Nice.
And then
I'm
there's
gonna
a
come
nice,
visit you, brother.
yeah, man. You guys are always welcome. We love having visitors. You know, that's my thing. I want to try and bring in different people, and I want this to be a place where people know, like, it doesn't have to be all about politics. You know what I mean? Like, we can all just be people sharing jujitsu and having fun, doing something we all enjoy. You know, so that was our thing.
Awesome.
Refuge can be a place, like a place for everyone. Like that was our
Yep.
motto. You know, a place for everyone.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Awesome.
Guys,
Thank you,
have a
Josh.
great week, and we'll catch up with you next week, guys.
All
We're
right. Have a
out.
good night, guys.